All right, let's get into it. We're talking about gunslingers today. Basically, they're terrible. It's a confusing mess. How can we fix them? This is going to be the start of a series where we really delve into the gunslinger, firearms, all the rules that cover it, and how we can fix it. It's one good thing about 1D&D, it has actually added firearms into the player's handbook, and so they are now in the core materials, but I don't think they have gone very far enough. They've only got Renaissance weapons, but we'll talk all about that. But before we do, I need to give a warning because we will be talking about firearms, ammunition, things like that. So if that's a sensitive topic for you, you might want to maybe think about your participation in this video. Let me know what you think about this topic though. If you go to the community section on the page for this channel, you can click on that and there's some things you can do. You can let me know what you think about the new look of this channel. I updated the logo and the banner and stuff like that, and you can subscribe. The channel's really been growing and I'm really grateful for that. But one of the interesting things that is going on is this survey here, and there's other surveys in there about using your firearms in the game. Do you do it in your game? Has the DM banned all firearms? How much of a part are they? I'd like to know. I think it's very interesting to look at the results for these surveys because it shows a window of what people are actually doing in their games rather than what Hasbro is telling us to do. But anyway, firearms have always been a bit controversial because, strictly speaking, Dungeons and Dragons has been a medieval fantasy, and so firearms were not strictly medieval, although types of firearms have existed into the medieval times, moving into the Renaissance. They're more like an afterthought when it comes to the rules of the game, so there's a lot of contradictory materials. People have tried to fix it with homebrew, but the problem with homebrew is it also contradicts each other and it shows the individual biases of the people who make it, and that's a good thing. That's what homebrew is all about. But a lot of times DMs don't allow firearms, and when they do, it's always everything has to be negotiated with DMs, like everything. So even the gunslinger itself as a class or a subclass is unofficial material, and so you need to be talking to your DM from the very start about whether you can play this character, and that's just where the negotiations begin. Also, I would say that the gunslinger as designed by Critical Role has a lot of problems with it and actually makes it almost unplayable. I would not play this version of the gunslinger. I prefer other versions. We'll talk all about that, as well as why does the gunslinger have to be a fighter? Maybe it needs its own class, and also what other classes can have options that include firearms. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Have you played a gunslinger? Have you found problems with it? Have you had to negotiate with your DM? Does your DM help or hinder that journey? Are you a DM that allows firearms in the campaign, and what have you found useful? I would like to know about all of that. Please leave some comments. Let's start the discussion about this because I think there's a lot of space for us to work out what's really going on and how we can make the game better. I'd also think that do anybody play like a Western campaign? I've got my Devil's Dice campaign, which I've played, or mini campaign, which I've played 3 times now, and I'll be posting more about that in the future. So let's have a look at firearms, and the gunslinger in particular. So the gunslinger starts as a fighter and gets all the goodies that a fighter gets, such as the D10 and the proficiencies in all armors and shields, simple and martial weapons, strength and constitution saving throws, and the skills. When I was playing my, that should be gunslinger, not gunsmith. What am I doing here? When I was playing my character, I took perception, and I really think you should too, because perception is the best skill. And the other one I took was animal handling, because I wanted to be a cowboy and get a horse. I also got a whip as one of my other weapons, but it was a bit hasn't really worked out like I wanted it to, because I haven't been able to get a horse. I have been able to get a pack mule, and have been looking after that and enjoying that pet, but it's a bit difficult. And we'll talk more about mounted combat, why it sucks in D&D in other videos. Also, we'll talk about mounts in other videos and how they're undervalued. I'm not sure if there are any other skills you would like there, probably athletics, but let me know in the comments what you would like for your gunslinger. You'll also note that firearms aren't included, but sometimes they are, because sometimes firearms are counted as a martial weapon. So it's up to your DM, and so straight away you're already negotiating. Let's move on. I was a human fighter, and I started as a crossbow expert. So if you want more information about that, you should check out the Warlock vs. Fighter Crossbow Expert playlist. And that goes into a lot of detail about how to build a Crossbow Expert. I'm not really sure whether the Gunslinger is better than the Crossbow Expert. The firearm that the DM gave me is a magical one, and we'll talk about magical firearms and treasure and equipment later. But I did lose an extra attack as the bonus action that you get from Crossbow Expert. I had to take Gunner, not Gunner, and as well I had to swap out that proficiency. I think the DM was a little bit awed by my fantastic Crossbow Expert, because I was playing Horde of the Dragon Queen and the half blue dragon Cian Wrath in that game. Spoiler alert, by the way, if you're playing that campaign. That half dragon challenged me to a duel, and I did fight that duel as a second level crossbow expert, and of course I lost, but I did last until the 7th round, which I think is pretty good considering how strong Cian Wrath is. And of course, later on in the adventure, I was able to meet him and fix that situation. Anyway, let's continue. For fighting style, I'd pick archery. If you somehow multi-class and get others, you could maybe think about defense or blind fighting. You'll get second wind and action surge, which is always good. Those things are great abilities, especially action surge ended up being what I use now to get my second attack, as well as some trick shots, which I'll mention later. The fighters, ASIs and extra feats and extra attacks and extra features are also all good, but I have to say that spellcasters eventually take over. So at 3rd level, you finally get your Firearm Proficiency, which looks like, as you can see later, you can just learn. So that's an ability that you could get for free in a different way. But you do get this Gunsmith, and once again, though, we have it's up to the DM's discretion whether you can create new ones. So Everything's got to be negotiated. It's very, like, I understand why they have that, because it's a controversial topic and everything's got to be approved by the DM. But it would be nice to have just some rules where it's just like, do you agree with the gunslinger? Yes, great. Bingo, bingo, bingo. We've got everything else instead of every point having to be negotiated so that the player can't make any plans. I think the idea about trick shots is really cool, and it gives you some actions and some ability to control the field. It also makes them feel like a battle master, and I've seen some videos of people building a gunslinger type character with the battle master instead. The only thing is you have to watch out is the battle master's skills are sometimes about melee weapons, whereas all of the gunslingers are for ranged. Grit is also cool, and it brings wisdom in. It means that the gunslinger does become a multi-attribute dependent character, so you've got to have your dexterity for shooting, your wisdom for the grit points, your constitution for hit points. It becomes more like a paladin, ranger, or monk. Some of these martial archetype features that are in the official version need to be tweaked. Quick draw, I don't see why they just don't give that at 3rd level. Rapid repair, I think you should just get rid of misfire. And lightning reload, you have to wait till 15th level to get that. That should be like 3rd level as well. Anyway, we'll talk more about that later. Loading sucks, and you can get out of it with the gunner feat. Foreshadowing, though, for a future option with the gunslinger. Some of the other abilities like Vicious Intent and Hemorrhaging Critical, you don't get till 18th level, so basically you will probably never see them because a lot of games don't get up to 18th level, which is a pity because they sound really cool. I don't see why they are so high when you consider that spellcasters are turning other characters into dragons at this level. Trick shots, going through the trick shots, bullying shot, I don't know why they put this in. Adding a charisma check to it just makes the gunslinger even more diverse in terms of having to also do wisdom, dexterity, and constitution. So you're probably looking at a lower charisma score for an intimidation check. Dazing shot is good though. Deadeye shot is excellent. Disarming shot is also good, and forceful shot allows you to push the character around, which basically the warlock gets before you do, but anyway. Piercing shot has some good ideas, but all of these things that add to the misfire and stuff like that, why? I don't understand why you build in this misfire mechanic. I get it that guns used to misfire, but you know, we don't have any other mechanic for like swords breaking or crossbows breaking or bows breaking. So why do guns or firearms have to be special? It's a fantasy game. Plus, if you're going to make it all scientific and correct and obey the laws of physics, most armor shouldn't work against a bullet because it's not thick enough unless they have a bulletproof armor. Also, there's lots of piecemeal rules for firearms, such as that just sort of get mixed and matched around. It makes it all very confusing. Counting ammunition can be very annoying. A lot of people don't do it. And crafting ammunition is also confusing. I couldn't find any rules about that. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about all of this? We're just starting the conversation, and I'll see you in the next one.